Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. So the Super League is back, or I would say it never went away. It was just sleeping, but the Super League is still very much on the agenda for those people who want this Super League to happen. So what is the latest? And look, it's not conspiracy, it's not hidden. It's a new Super League with no permanent membership, could be up and running by the 24-25 season. The chief executive of the company behind the failed project has revealed. So it's Bernd Reichardt, who is a German executive, has been hired by A22 Sports Management, who were formed to sponsor and assist in the creation of the proposed failed 12-team breakaway in April of last year. So what has Bernd been saying? Well, his first remit is to start talks with football stakeholders across Europe, open up the tournament and make it not a closed shop. This can be done without the English clubs, who at the moment aren't making any comments after what happened last year. But he believes that the Premier League clubs can be brought a part of it. And a direct quote from him is that in relation to asked if this could be up and running in a couple of years, he said that that might not be the first reasonable, that might be the first reasonable and realistic call, but there are so many variables that I can't actually foresee. But that's probably the first realistic call, that the European Super League could be up and running for the 24-25 season, which is only what 2-3 years away. So, you know, I think it's something that we need to keep in mind, because this is not going to go away. I mean, Florentino Perez, Real Madrid, is a massive public driver of this, but there are many other clubs that would like this as well. Italian clubs, Barcelona were part of it. I think you've just got to just be very, very aware of it. I was absolutely moved by the football community, certainly in this country, and its reactions to what actually happened last year and how it was unacceptable that a Super League even, take off. That original Super League was 12 clubs, 6 Premier League clubs in it, closed shop, the end of the end of the European Cup. It would have been the end of the Premier League. We would have been seeing games like Man United against Real Madrid in Australia and all sorts. And basically, the rich get richer. But they won't let it go. And the reason they won't let it go is because it's money for the rich. It's money for the powerful clubs. And they basically done what every ruthless business organisation will do when they've got an idea and they're determined to get it through. They'll throw the idea out there, it will get absolutely destroyed, we don't want that, and then they'll learn from it and go, let's still get where we want to get, but let's manipulate it a little bit. And not necessarily manipulate it in a good way. I think the problem with the Super League was that it's 12 clubs, it's a closed shop, it's invite only, and those clubs will always stay there getting rich and getting all the brands and getting all the sponsor deals and getting all the publicity. That was the problem with it. It was completely and utterly competition was out the window. They're now saying that it's going to be more of an open shop, but it's complete nonsense, because ultimately these Super League will still have Real Madrid, Barcelona, the big clubs in it. And they'll say, yeah, it is open to Valencia, it is open to Marseille, but basically those clubs, I mean, it's just so logical. It makes me laughable that they would even promote it as being open to everybody. What happens when you start a Super League? Massive money comes in and it goes to the big clubs that are in it first. And the big clubs that are in it first will be the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas of this world. And yes, it will be technically open to Valencia and everybody else, but how will they ever get into it? Because Real Madrid and Barcelona are just going to be creaming it in. Loads of money coming in. How can these outsiders, who it is technically open for, actually ever get in? It's like the Premier League now, fair play to the Brentfords of this world who've come up and done well, but it's very difficult to come up and do well because the Premier League clubs are just coining it in all the time. And we've got a very good league. So, look, a Super League is about the rich getting richer. It's about the fact that the La Liga doesn't work. Serie A doesn't really work in relation to income. Serie A is a very good league competitive-wise, but it's not the Premier League. It doesn't make the money. La Liga is dominated by Barcelona and Real Madrid because of how they put together that league and how the money works. The Premier League is the model. Even this Bernd says that the Premier League is the model that they want to replicate with a Super League. But I don't want the Premier League to have anything to do with that. For me as a Manchester United fan, and I'm sure it's the same for Liverpool fans and even Arsenal and Man City fans who would like to have a European Cup on their Wikipedia page, if you do a Super League, it's the end of the European Cup. And if it's the end of the European Cup, that's the end of what the Busby Babes set out to do, what we did 10 years later when we won it in '68 with Sir Matt Busby. The European Cup is intrinsic to Manchester United. We haven't won it as many times as Real Madrid or Liverpool, but it's a massively important tournament to us. And to move away from it because rich clubs want to get richer. That's not what it's all about. And ultimately, you know, I always find it very sad. Like Goodison Park will be gone in a couple of years, and that's a stadium I remember looking on the TV as a kid, and you know, it's still there now. Football is heritage, and football heritage is the European Cup. It is Division 1, which became the Premier League. It's just a different name. It's still Division 1, which I remember. If we move into a Super League, we're probably going to move away from Premier League football and domestic football, and it's going to become a byproduct of the Super League, which is where all the brands and the money is. The European Cup will disappear. And I'm a firm believer in football that, you know, when we talk about Messi, we reflect back to Maradona. When we talk about Ronaldo, you might talk about Eusebio. When you talk about somebody like a Ronaldo R9, you talk about Pele. You know, that football heritage goes hand in hand with football today. And if we are going to rip that up, what benefit is it for us as a football fan to lose the thing that we were introduced by our grandparents or our parents, to go and follow Florentino Perez's dream to make Real Madrid richer and all these other clubs richer? I mean, for me, it's just lazy. Why can't La Liga follow the Premier League model? Why can't Serie A follow the Premier League model? Because that ultimately, if Real Madrid were playing in the Premier League, earning the money that Man City and Man United and everyone else is, I don't think they'd want a Super League. And I don't think AC Milan would want one either. They want a Super League because La Liga doesn't work. Serie A doesn't work in the way that the Premier League works. And they're jealous of the Premier League. And instead of building it, and it took years for the Premier League, they don't want to open that up. So they want the Super League. They want the quick fix. They want to rip up football's heritage to create a quick fix where they can make as much money as everybody else. And they know that if Real Madrid's in the same league as a Liverpool and a Man United and a Bayern Munich and an AC Milan, then they're a big draw and everyone's going to watch their games instead of Premier League games. And that's what it's all about. It's lazy, it's a quick fix, it's pull the ladder up, Jack, and sod the rest. And I can see exactly where this is going, and it's the same thing as a year ago. Ultimately, it's about big clubs getting richer because they can't be asked to create something in their own countries like the Premier League, because they don't want that. They want a quick fix, and the quick fix that brings them in the more money is to merge everything together and be a big player in that, the biggest player effectively in some ways. But it's also very lazy, because is the Champions League broken? Maybe it is. Is La Liga broken? Yeah, I think it is. Fix it. How long has La Liga been around? How many decades? Maybe it's been 100 years, I don't know. The Champions League, European Cup, has been around for 60 years. We're just going to rip it up because everyone can't be asked. How's about we work making that better? And I don't like the new Champions League proposals, by the way, but there are ways that this could be made better. If people are absolutely desperate to be playing Real Madrid against Bayern Munich in New York, do it in the Champions League the way that the NFL does it. We are chasing the money here for the global audience, but that's only part of the problem. Part of the problem is, the big part of the problem is, people just can't be asked to take the long track to fixing their own heritage. La Liga, Serie A, the Champions League. They want this quick fix that will disintegrate football. And I'm not for it. I don't think anybody's for it. But it was absolutely inevitable that it would happen. They're not going to let this go, because they want to get it through. And they will open it up by saying, well, it's open up to everybody. Bullshit. It won't be open up to everybody, because ultimately the Premier League is open for Rochdale. They'll never get there. The Premier League is open for Millwall. They'll never get there. It is open, but it's not really. And that's the get out for the Super League. Okay, we won't make it a closed shop this time. We will say that it's open for everybody. But they'll need shitloads of money to get in, because we're going to be so rich when we start it up. They'll never get in. And that's what will happen. The rich will get richer, and that's what it's all about. Anyway, give us your thoughts on it. The Super League is back. It never went away. They're still pushing for it. And as fans, I think we've still got to push against it, because we don't want it. And I certainly hope that the Premier League clubs stay away from it, because we don't need it. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that, because they shit themselves last time, and that was because of fans. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like. Subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one. But important topic, and you need to keep it in your heads. Keep thinking about it.